Ang Program Station pinagbalita tumatalakay sa may subang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapapinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito'y patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay. Tingnan natin po ang time check natin ay 36 minutos po. Okay, pasado na alas 8. Okay, ang kalendaryo natin ngayon na 12. Okay, ng Abril 2024. Gabi po ng Friday ang programa natin sa gabi nito, no? Okay, good evening. Magandang gabi sa inyo. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, no? Okay. Nandito na naman tayo sa consolidated news natin. Okay, sa gabi nito, no? Kumusta kayo? Okay, sa programa Halo-Halo Special, Opinion, Balita at iba pa. Serbisyo publiko tinig ng mamamayan. Okay, karamay po ang mamamayan sa programa natin, na. Okay, pakinggan natin kung anong briefing ito, no? Tungkol po sa trilateral summit ng tatlong bansa, no? Okay, itong Pilipinas, United States of America, at saka Japan po, mga pakinggan natin ito. Okay. Kung ano ang laman nito.
This board, the importance of enhancing our continued economic cooperation with a view of promoting economic resilience and, of course, security. The solutions to this problem. It is so important for the quality of life of our people. It is so important for the growth of our economy. It is so important for the balanced development of the entire country. During this summit, I will underscore the importance of enhancing our continued economic cooperation with a view of promoting economic resilience and, of course, security. We have to prioritize the solutions to this problem. It is so important for the quality of life of our people. It is so important for the growth of our economy. It is so important for the balanced development of the entire country.
Okay. Okay, yun pala. Yun ang purpose mga suki mga kababayan, no? Okay. Patungkol pa sa ekonomiya natin mga kababayan, no? Mix na. Okay, pati itong security natin, pang-ekonomiya. Okay. Yun po ang itong trilateral meeting, no? Okay, nakapokus po rito sa itong problema natin hidwaan, okay, at saka China mga suki. Panggan natin itong kasunod, no? Pero ano ito, mga tagapagbalita, no? Okay. Sige lang. Para marinig natin mga suki, no?
Says the government isn't aware of any record of the agreement and that they were not briefed about it when he came to office in 2022. Under Marcos, the Philippines has deepened military ties with both the United States and Japan. Amid escalating maritime run-ins with China and the South China Sea, Beijing has warned the Biden administration against interference in the region. Marcos will hold talks with US President Joe Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. The three leaders will sign an agreement on the South China Sea issues. At the end of the summit, all three leaders are expected to issue a joint vision statement on a shared vision for cooperation between the nations, namely in the Indo-Pacific. Marcos Jr. is also expected to meet with U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin at the Pentagon before his return flight to Manila on the 12th of April. Marcos has agreed to nearly double the number of Philippine bases that American soldiers can access under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. Talks are also underway with Japan for a reciprocal access agreement to allow the presence of Japanese forces on Filipino soil. Manila is also expected to quote close to 100 AIM investments from Tokyo and Washington, primarily in the semiconductor and modular nuclear manufacturing sector. Marcos Jr. is also scheduled to meet investors from big tech, including high-ranking executives from Alphabet. For latest news, download the WeOn app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
So, yon po ang mga latest na maibigay natin sa gabing ito, ha? Okay. Itong pagbisita po ng Presidente, okay, sa US po mga suki, no? Ayan. Sige lang. Okay, mga suki, mga kababayan, sandali lang. Okay, lipat tayo sa mga ibang balita, no?
Ang Programa ng Special Opinion Balita at Ibabaga ay tumatalakay sa mga isupang kasalukuyan at napakanon. Mapapolitika, mapapinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, foreign press briefing naman ang susunod natin. Briefing on Japan state visit. The US, Japan, Philippines. Pakinggan natin ito. Pero mahaba-haba ito, no? Sige lang. Okay, para makakuha natin mga mahalagang news galing sa kanila, no?
Welcome everyone to the Washington Foreign Press Center. My name is Miranda Patterson, one of the media relations officers here at the FPC. I am pleased to welcome back Dr. Mira Rapp-Hooper to the Washington Foreign Press Center this afternoon. And the purpose of today's briefing is to preview the official visit of Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio, as well as the first U.S.-Japan-Philippines Trilateral Leaders Summit, along with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Dr. Mira Rapp-Hooper is Special Assistant to the President and Senior Director for East Asia and Oceania. She is a top White House advisor responsible for the Indo-Pacific strategy and many other initiatives. A quick reminder of the ground rules for today. The briefing is on the record. After her opening remarks, Senior Director Rapp-Hooper has kindly agreed to take questions. Please raise your hand and I will call on you. If called for a question, please begin your question by stating your name, outlet, and country. For our journalists joining via Zoom, if you have a question, please go to the participant field and virtually raise your hand. We will call on you and you can unmute yourself if you like, turning on your video and ask your question. You can also submit questions in the chat box. If you have not already done so, please take the time now to rename yourself in your Zoom profile with your full name and the name of your media outlet.
Mahaba-haba yan
This
pero okay
briefing
lang, no?
ends promptly at
Okay, para
12:45.
may makuha tayo.
We will post the video and the transcript of the briefing afterwards on our website, which is fpc.state.gov. And with that, I'm going to turn the briefing over now to Senior Director Rap Cooper.
Sige.
Thank you so much, Miranda, and thank you to the Foreign Press Center for having me today. It's good to see you all. As you know, tomorrow, Wednesday, the President and First Lady will welcome to the White House Prime Minister Kishida Fumio and Mrs. Kishida of Japan for an official visit that will include a state dinner. Since day one of this administration, we have been focused on reinvesting in and reinvigorating our alliances in the Indo-Pacific. And nowhere has President Biden's strategy paid off more than in this region and with respect to our alliance with Japan. Our alliances and partnerships have long been critical to securing a free, open, prosperous, and resilient global order. And in the last 3 years, Japan has been working tirelessly and in lockstep alongside the United States as we look to achieve our shared vision for this region and for the world. What you'll see on display over the course of this state visit is that we are strategically aligned and cooperating in every area across every part of the world. This state visit is a celebration of our bilateral relationship as it evolves into a true global partnership that is a force for peace and prosperity. Since both President Biden and Prime Minister Kishida took office in 2021, the two leaders have met nearly a dozen times. When President Biden welcomed Prime Minister Kishida to Washington for the first time in January of 2023, Japan had just published its historic national security strategy, which called for an increase in defense spending to 2% of GDP, said that Japan would seek to acquire counter-strike capabilities alongside the United States and would enhance its cooperation with like-minded partners. Throughout the official visit with state dinner this week, the President will honor and celebrate Prime Minister Kishida's courageous leadership in the Indo-Pacific, including his domestic reforms to strengthen Japan's defense posture and increase defense spending, his work alongside President Yoon of the ROK to build a new foundation in Japan-ROK relations, his work to support Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands, and on the global stage, Japan's unwavering support for Ukraine. I'll briefly highlight just some of the areas where you can expect announcements from our leaders tomorrow. First, we will bolster our defense and security cooperation to enable greater coordination and integration of our forces to ensure they are optimally postured and linked to one another. Second, our leaders will announce some important deliverables on civil space cooperation as we lead the way in space exploration and the return to the moon. Third, our two countries will announce major research partnerships between our leading institutions on critical and emerging technologies in areas including artificial intelligence, quantum, semiconductors, and clean energy. And all of this will, of course, strengthen our economic ties and our economic security as we announce commercial deals as part of this state visit as well. Fourth, Japan is one of the leading providers of economic assistance and budget support to Ukraine and development infrastructure in Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. This visit will highlight Japan's continued role in global diplomacy and development and will showcase some important deliverables on consequential work the United States and Japan are doing together, in particular in the Pacific Islands. And finally, we'll announce some important new initiatives to further foster our cultural connections and promote closer people-to-people ties, especially amongst our young people. Since the beginning of this administration, our theory of the case for the Indo-Pacific has been that we would reinvest in and modernize our alliances and partnerships. And when we did, our allies and partners would seek to step up alongside us. And we have seen that theory of the case proven many times over. We are indeed not taking any of these actions alone, but in every case in close partnership with our allies and partners within the region and beyond. So while it is undeniable that we are all living in a challenging geopolitical moment, the President continues to prioritize our work in what we see as the critical region for the long term of American foreign policy. That's why, in addition to this important state visit this week, the President will also welcome President Marcos of the Philippines for his second visit in as many years to the White House, and will also hold the first ever trilateral leader summit between the United States, Japan, and the Philippines. As Indo-Pacific nations, the US, Japan, and the Philippines share a joint vision for the future of the region. And with this first ever leader-level trilateral summit, we are continuing to innovate the groupings with whom we're working closely, adding to the fit-for-purpose lattice work that we are using throughout the Indo-Pacific. This trilateral format was really innovated by our national security advisors, who met for the first time in Tokyo last year to discuss how we might better work together and cooperate. And out of that June 2023 meeting, they identified a few critical areas of cooperation amongst the United States, Japan, and the Philippines that our leaders will be taking to new heights later this week. On Thursday, our leaders will announce new initiatives to enhance energy security, economic and maritime cooperation, partnerships on technology and cybersecurity, and some considerable joint investments in major infrastructure areas. Our three countries will embark on this new era of trilateral cooperation as equal partners, guided by a shared vision and unwavering commitment to a free, open, peaceful, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. The events of this week clearly illustrate the President's continued commitment to strengthening our key alliances and partnerships, innovating around shared challenges, and exploring new areas of cooperation. With that, I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Rackluper. Now we're going to open up for the question and answer portion. Please be advised that the questions should relate to the information that was just provided to us in opening remarks. Yes, we'll have you here in the front row. Please state your name and outlet.
Thank you very much. Dong Weiyu with China Review News Agency of Hong Kong. It was widely reported that the AUKUS is considering, in expanding the security pact that will include Japan in the defense alliance. Will the U.S.-Japan summit discuss this issue? And what is the implication of this new movement for the U.S. approach to China? And is it a new mechanism that is different from other alliance mechanism to deter China? Thank you.
Sure. I'll start by taking your question by creating an important distinction up front, and that is when we talk about the AUKUS partnership, there are two very distinct tracks of cooperation. AUKUS Pillar 1 is a partnership that is exclusively amongst the United States, Australia, and the United Kingdom, and that is the partnership that is focused on providing nuclear-powered, conventionally armed submarines. That Pillar 1 track has not and will not expand. Full stop. There is a second track of AUKUS, which is AUKUS Pillar 2, that is focused on the development of additional advanced capabilities projects, which are entirely separate from Pillar 1. The AUKUS defense ministers, that is the US, UK, and Australian defense ministers, yesterday announced that they would begin consultations with a small group of additional partners towards their possible inclusion in some AUKUS Pillar 2 projects. What that means is that we will begin consultations with a range of additional partners, including Japan, as was indicated yesterday, towards their possible participation in these additional capabilities projects. So want to be clear that since the inception of AUKUS, we have always indicated that it would include a Pillar 2 track. This is not a new partnership. It is part of AUKUS that has been designed from the beginning. And what the defense ministers announced yesterday is really just the starting point of a consultation period to understand better which partners might be a good fit for Pillar 2. We expect that work to continue over the course of the next many months, and all decisions about the ultimate composition of Pillar 2 will be made by the AUKUS defense ministers as a trilateral grouping.
Thank you. Let's go here in the second row, the tan shirt.
Hi, thank you for doing this. My name is Yuko Mukai from Japanese Yomiuri Shimbun. My question is about U.S., Japan, and Philippine trilateral summit. There is a media report that President Biden will stress that the U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty, Article 4, will be applied to Sierra Madre. which is the stage of the ongoing conflict between China and Philippines in the South China Sea. Could you please confirm that? And also, I would like to know what specifically does it mean that Article 4 will be applied to that Sierra Madre, which means like if the Chinese, what if there is an attack by the Chinese side, by the Coast Guard, but in the result it turned to be the damage to the Philippine side. Will it cause any kind of military interference by the U.S. side?
What I can say in response to your question is that the United States and President Biden in particular have been consistent and clear for the entirety of this administration that the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty applies in the South China Sea, including to Philippines vessels underway, including Coast Guard vessels, and including in the South China Sea. That declaratory policy is consistent from the beginning of this administration, is held on a bipartisan basis, and has not changed. The president last articulated it publicly from the Rose Garden when Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was here in October from his state visit. And what I imagine you will hear over the course of the next few days is language that is identical to what you have heard in the past. What the ultimate meaning here is, I think, is crystal clear to any observers, and that is the fact that the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty applies to the Philippines in the South China Sea, again, to vessels underway, including Coast Guard vessels. We stand strongly by our alliance commitments to the Philippines, and that is one of the things we will be talking to President Marcos about when he is in town. Of course, this trilateral meeting comes at a very important time as the Philippines has found themselves under increasing pressure from the PRC in the South China Sea. This should, of course, be taken as a sign that not only President Biden, but Prime Minister Kishida wish to show their support and resolve for President Marcos and his handling of this incredibly difficult issue. I think what you will see is a strong showing of support and solidarity amongst our three leaders for a common vision of a South China Sea that is governed by international law.
Thank you. We're going to turn online really briefly to one of our journalists from the Philippines, Don Tagala. Please unmute yourself and turn on your camera if able. Ask your question.
Don Tagala, ABS-CBN News on the Filipino channel. My question is, what is the status of the reciprocal access agreement between Japan and the Philippines? And please tell us about the timeline in getting this agreement in operations. Thank you.
Thank you. I will not suppose to share updates about the timeline for a negotiation that is taking place bilaterally between our Philippines allies and our Japanese allies. But what I can say is that the U.S. government has consistently expressed its support for those negotiations and for the growing set of ties between the Philippines and Japan, and will continue to do so over the course of this visit.
Okay, Josie?
Good morning. My name is Josie Morales Zayman from the Radio Mindanao Network in the Philippines, but I'm based here in Alexandria, Virginia. I have several questions, but if you don't mind, I'm going to ask two questions, and it's up to you how to answer it. Can you share any examples of successful past initiatives or collaborations between the Philippines, Japan, and United States? And this is the first trilateral summit meeting, right? And what inspires, optimism for the outcomes of this summit? And how do you believe the outcomes of this summit will positively impact the lives of people across the Indo-Pacific region?
Thank you. I'll be happy to try to take those questions as one. I think we have many indications of really strong cooperation amongst our three countries in the past. As you know, while our Japanese friends have been deeply invested across a range of sectors and areas in their support for Filipino friends for a very long time. So this is really a natural fit for our partnership. One recent example that I'll highlight that folks in the room may be tracking is that just a couple of days ago, the United States, the Philippines, Japan, and Australia conducted their first joint sail in the South China Sea, which was intended to signal our common support for international law in that critical body of water. And I think over the course of the last many years, our ability to better work together in and around the Philippines and with the Philippines has been growing, but we will take that to new heights with our announcements on Thursday. To your important question about how those deliverables will show that we are delivering for the Filipino people, what I can say is there will be some particularly important announcements related to infrastructure in particular, whereby the United States and Japan will agree to cooperate on their investments in the Philippines. And we do believe that together and working closely with the government of the Philippines, we will be able to deliver for the Filipino people by helping to work together on high quality, high standards infrastructure that makes a difference in the lives of everyday people.
Okay, we'll go to Sam here in the third row, the edge.
Thank you very much. My name is Hong Sang-ho, reporter from Yonhap News Agency, South Korea. I'm wondering about there will be any specific and concrete progress in terms of trilateral cooperation involving South Korea about deterring North Korea from the summit I'm talking about between President Biden and Prime Minister Kishida. And my second question is that you talked about Pillar 2 of the AUKUS security partnership. Do you see any possibility that South Korea could be potential partner in Pillar 2 advanced capability projects? Thank you.
Thanks very much. Of course, we will primarily be focused on bilateral deliverables in our summit with Prime Minister Kishida. But I will say that there will be a few grace notes in some of our documents marking the fantastic progress we are making in our trilateral relationship with the ROK, including in the defense and security space. So some of those developments will be noted in the joint leaders statement on the fact sheet that we bring out. I'll point to just one area in which we have redoubled our trilateral cooperation since the Camp David summit, and that is in our partnership to monitor and push back against the growing cooperation between the DPRK and Russia, which of course is of grave concern to all three of our countries and should be of concern to anybody who is interested in peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific as well as in Europe. So we remain very confident and enthusiastic about the work we continue to do together in that trilateral format. To your question about additional partners, as I've noted, the AUKUS defense ministers did agree yesterday to begin consultations with additional partners towards possible inclusion in Pillar 2. They'll be talking to a range of highly capable partners who would be good fits for these projects, and I'll leave those consultations to the defense ministers.
Okay, we'll go to Lisa in the front row.
Thank you. I'm Lisa. I'm with Nippon TV. We're based in Tokyo, Japan. My question is, I think President Biden mentioned about his concerns on U.S. steel deal publicly. With the proposed merger on TV on steel and U.S. steel also be one of the topics to be discussed in the meeting?
What I can say is, of course, the president's views on the subject are well known. The president's made clear that he will always stand up for American workers, but he's equally strong in his conviction that he will always stand up for the U.S.-Japan alliance. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, we'll go here in the third row, black shirt.
Thank you for this opportunity. This is Ryo Kiyomiya from the Asahi Shimbun, Japanese daily newspaper. I have two questions. Firstly, regarding the command and control between US and Japan. Japan will establish a joint operational command by next year. So as a counterpart of Japan's JJOC, what could be an ideal USFJ command structure in order to promote cooperation between US and Japan? And separately, regarding the US-Japan cooperation and US-Japan-Philippines trilateral cooperation, how much are you hopeful that countries can institutionalize cooperation and deliverables in spite of a potential presidential transition or change of government?
Thank you. To your question about Japan's stand-up of its Joint Operational Command, we will have more to say tomorrow about the United States' approach towards modernizing its own approach to command and control in Japan. However, I will note that it will take a bit of time for some of these details to be worked out. So tomorrow we'll give some additional color on these questions, but we are prepared and fully expect to be working closely with the government of Japan on the question of how best to match up with JJOC for months to come. On the question of the U.S.-Philippines trilateral, we are absolutely hopeful about being able to institutionalize this cooperation. As I mentioned, this trilateral track really began at the National Security Advisors level about 9 months ago. But since that meeting, where our national security advisors crafted a joint program of work for us, there have been several additional meetings at other levels and in other formats, to include our foreign ministers meeting trilaterally, Vice President Harris meeting with Prime Minister Kishida and President Marcos, and most recently Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell meeting with his Philippines and Japanese counterparts at the vice ministerial level. So we believe strongly that this format will continue across a range of agencies and different levels, and that the program of work that you see unveiled on Thursday will be a project for our three countries for many years to come.
The front row, Jessica.
Thank you, Myrna. Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Being along with Hong Kong Phoenix TV. So in terms of the trilateral cooperation, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said China opposes coupling together exclusive groupings. How do you want China to portray this summit? Are you concerned that closer U.S.-Philippine military cooperation may trigger escalation in the South China Sea? Thank you.
I'm not going to opine too much on China's portrayal or sort of deign to project how Beijing will portray the summit. What I will say is what we've said throughout the Biden administration, which is that the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy and our groupings of alliances and partnerships are not about being against anyone or anything. They're about what we're for, and that's very clear in our Indo-Pacific strategy. We make clear that we stand together for a free and open Indo-Pacific that is prosperous, resilient, and secure, and we welcome into that approach all comers who share in that vision. The U.S., Japan, Philippines trilateral that you will see on Thursday is a perfect representation of three maritime democracies who are aligned in that vision, and we believe that the world will see that summit as such.
Okay, let's go here in the corner.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Shinichi Akiyama for Mainichi Newspaper Japan. I have two questions. One is for Japan-US Security Alliance. As you mentioned, this summit will emphasize the merit and the necessity to bolster the cooperation. And there is ongoing discussion in the PACOM to establish a new joint task force. What is the role of this joint task force in terms of the US-Japan alliance? And my second question is about the trilateral summit. What role do you expect for the Japanese self-defense forces to protect their stability in Southeast Asia, South China Sea?
Thank you very much. As already indicated, we will have more to say tomorrow about our approach to future alliance modernization. But as I've also already indicated, it'll take some months to work through the details. So I think it's premature to opine on any details related to any particular task forces. This is a really important set of alliance modernization steps that the Secretary of Defense and our new Indo-PACOM commander will be putting a lot of thought into, along with the President. And of course, the primary representation of this progress right now is, of course, Japan's stand-up of JJOC. So we'll be working closely together to come up with the right fit there. On the question of Japan in the South China Sea, we expect that our leaders will have a really fruitful conversation on what more we can do together by way of building our capacity building, our operational integration, and our work to support international law in the South China Sea. But of course, the ultimate contributions are up to the government of Japan.
And we're going to go to the back a little bit. Second row in the black dress. Please.
Eunjang Cho with the Voice of America. Earlier, Mr. John Kirby said that North Korea will be on the agenda in the summit between President Biden and Prime Minister Kishida. Relatedly, Dr. Rob Cooper, you earlier said in March that the Biden administration is going to consider interim steps on the pathway to denuclearization. Will interim steps involve nuclear freeze and capping of the number of missiles? What is your response to skepticism from both in Washington and Seoul that interim step is something that has been tried and failed many times before? My second question is that it's been reported that the summit will discuss the hypersonic glide vehicle. What can you preview us about the discussions regarding the missile defense against North Korean missile threat? Thank you.
Thanks. I'll start first with the second part of your question. I think, we have a long history of cooperation on ballistic missile defense, both with our Japanese friends and with our friends in the ROK. I'm not expecting any sort of DPRK specific announcements to come out tomorrow, but we are excited about continuing to further the progress that we make on regional missile defense integration more broadly. On the question of the DPRK, I want to be clear that the comments you cited are totally consistent with the same policy that we have been articulating for the entirety of the Biden administration. And that is the fact that we remain open to talks with the DPRK without preconditions and on a wide range of topics. As you know, we have reached out to the DPRK many times and have not had any response. So the message that was articulated there is that we would like them to come to the table and tell us what they want to talk about, and we'll be ready to talk. The comment about interim steps is often being interpreted in a strict arms control sense of the definition of what interim steps might mean. We are open to talking about a wide range of topics with the DPRK should they wish to talk to us about things that can make the Korean Peninsula and the Indo-Pacific safer.
Okay, back here,
This is Sang Min-yan from Radio Free Asia. Chinese government announced that their highest official will visit North Korea this week. I want to know how to see this visit at this moment. Why do you think the Chinese government sent their highest official to North Korea at this moment?
Thank you. Again, I'm not going to interpret the particular signaling behind a specific visit. I don't pretend to know what exactly Beijing's calculation is here. What I will say, though, is part of what I've already articulated, is that there are a number of areas in which we are concerned about North Korean actions and North Korean rhetoric. That includes the fact that since the new year, Kim Jong-un has been using more threatening rhetoric about potential actions he might take in and around the peninsula. We are also deeply concerned about growing DPRK-Russia cooperation, which has clear implications for Ukraine as well as for peace and stability in Indo-Pacific. So whatever the reason might be for the Chinese government wanting to have a high-level touch now, we hope that they will raise these issues in the interest of making the region more peaceful and stable.
Okay, we'll go front row here.
Hi, thanks for doing this. I'm Kako Hisayada from NHK. Regarding to the South China Sea, this will be a bit broader question, but do you see the link between the second Thomas Show and stability in Wall Street?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last part of the question? I'm sorry to hear you.
So do you see the link between the second Thomas Show and the stability in the Strait?
I don't think I'll connect those two areas too directly, except to say that, of course, the United States stands for peace and stability in all of maritime Asia, and for maritime Asia that is governed by international law. Obviously, these are areas of concern on which we are keenly focused, but I won't draw further connections between the two of them here.
Okay, right next one.
Thank you so much, Senior Director. Igor Naimoshin, RIA News Agency, Russia. So, as Japan plays a really active role in supporting Western sanctions in the Pacific, including price cap for Russian oil, import ban for Russian diamonds, and a long list of export bans. Are there any plans during the Japanese Prime Minister visit to discuss additional sanctions on Russia? And are there any plans to discuss the potential transfer of Patriot systems to Ukraine via the US? Thank you.
Thank you. I won't get ahead of any private discussions that might take place between our leaders.
Okay, right. See in the fourth row.
Hi, this is Tomoko Ashizuka of the Nikkei newspaper. Thank you very much for doing this. So the Biden administration has emphasized on the importance of alliances in Indo-Pacific region and in other part of the world compared to the previous administration. Just I'd like to know why you think that enhancing and expanding the alliance is critical for the interest of the United States and other countries. Thank you.
Thank you. I certainly tried to speak to this in my opening remarks, but happy to say a little bit more here. I think as the United States laid out in President Biden's Indo-Pacific strategy that was published in February of 2022, We see cooperation with our alliances and partnerships and the expansion of those is critical because by growing these relationships and improving our ability to work together, we can build what we term collective capacity in the Indo-Pacific, and that is our ability to deliver on specific concrete results that further our shared objectives in that region. So that's why we put such an emphasis in that strategy on alignment with our alliances and partnerships. And I'll note that while, of course, on display this week, you'll see really strong and concrete cooperation between two of America's closest and oldest allies in the Indo-Pacific, we feel that this approach to building collective capacity has had appeal with a far broader grouping of countries. I think we need only look at the fact that the president paid a historic visit to Vietnam to upgrade to a comprehensive strategic partnership last September to appreciate that this rationale for building collective capacity towards common goals has a widespread appeal beyond just treaty partners. So we're very gratified that we continue to see steps forward, not only with some of our closest allies with whom we know we share a vision, but with a wider range of partners who see some of themselves in that vision.
Okay, did Josie have another question? Yeah, we'll go there.
My next question is, as advisor in the White House, what do you think is the impact of this trilateral meeting for the people of the Philippines? As you mentioned before, you mentioned about infrastructure, but how about in the lives of Filipinos? Right now, there is a high rate of poverty, unemployment in the Philippines, and most of these people are also affected by the tension in China.
Thanks. I think I've opined already and shared a bit about the fact that infrastructure investments from the United States and Japan will make a difference in the lives of everyday people. But do want to be clear that beyond those areas, there's a number of areas for cooperation, which we'll be discussing with President Marcos, that also have the ability to deliver for the Philippines people. Those include energy security, which of course is a very important focus for this government. They include digital connectivity to make sure that people of the Philippines have access to reliable, trusted networks, and a number of other areas which, if we can more effectively hone our trilateral cooperation, will make the Philippines economy stronger and will affect the everyday lives of the Philippines people. On top of that, of course, what we'll be showing on Thursday is that amidst the tensions with the PRC in the South China Sea, the Philippines people, not just President Marcos, have the support of the United States and Japan. So we think that between these very concrete deliverables, some of which have significant economic implications, and those statements and demonstration of resolve, this is indeed not just about free leaders, but about all their people.
Does anyone new have a question? Yes, we'll go in the back.
Hello, I just wonder if Taiwan will be, David Smith of The Guardian, just wonder if Taiwan will be on the agenda in the discussion between the President and the Prime Minister tomorrow. We've heard the President in the past say that, if Taiwan was attacked, yes, the US military would defend it. Is it the expectation that Japan would join in that operation? And finally, is the President concerned that if Congress fails to send more military to Ukraine, that sends a worrying signal about whether the US really would help Taiwan?
Thank you. I think the United States and Japan have crafted a common position on Taiwan that's very clear. It has appeared in our last many leader statements, and I think you'll see similar language over the course of this visit. Our leaders often talk about the importance of peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait, but I don't have more to share for you than that at this point. I do think that, of course, the President is very hopeful that Congress will pass this up for a wide range of reasons, to include its important implications for Indo-Pacific security beyond security in Europe.
And we'll go back here in the beige.
Hi, Yuko Mukai from Japanese Yomiuri Shimbun. Just follow-up question about Taiwan. So you earlier mentioned that you don't connect South China Sea and Taiwan to directly, but do we expect in the trilateral meeting that the leaders will discuss about Taiwan Strait issues, like in the context of like peace and stability. And also, it's my understanding that the reason like Japan finds this trilateral framework is more meaningful is because Japan is facing the same kind of pressure by China in the East China Sea. Does East China Sea issues will be discussed by the leaders?
Thanks. Again, I'm not going to go into too much depth on private conversations amongst our leaders that haven't happened yet. What I will say, however, is that the United States is totally consistent in reaffirming the fact that our Mutual Defense Treaty and Article 5 apply to the Senkaku Islands. You will see that position reaffirmed by the President and in relevant language as it always is. I don't have any further detail to share on the East China Sea at this time. But again, we often discuss the importance of peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait, and we have a well-crafted series of common positions.
Okay, this is going to end the question and answer portion of the briefing, but I did want to give Dr. Rappaport a chance to say any concluding words.
Thanks. Really appreciate the strong and detailed set of questions today, and appreciate all of the engagement from this great group of reporters. Again, we think that what you'll see on display this week is, of course, a series of visits that are very consequential in their own right, whether that's with the Japan official visit with state dinner, really serving as the capstone of 3 years of extraordinary alliance modernization between the U.S. and Japan, or the U.S.-Philippines-Japan trilateral demonstrating that we continue to innovate our work with allies in the Indo-Pacific towards common cause and common goals. But overall, beyond just the symbolism and the significant deliverables that will come out of these two visits, I think we hope that what the world will take away, again, is the fact that investing in alliances and partnerships and working in close coordination with our key allies and partners has paid dividends, and will reaffirm the fact that we will continue to do so under President Biden's leadership, because the theory of the case for his Indo-Pacific strategy will never be more clear than it will be this week.
Thank you so much. This concludes our briefing. I want to give another special thanks to our briefer for joining us here again, Senior Director Rappaport, and for sharing her time with us today. I know it's a busy week for everyone, and to those of you who participated, you can find the transcripts and this briefing and more about our programs online later today at fpc.state.gov. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Tapos na po mga suki mga kababayan, no? Pagkasanay lang.
Ang Bureau of Special Bilang Balita at Iba't ay tumatalakay sa mga isupang kasalukuyan at napakaroon. Mapapolitika, mapapinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito'y patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang pinatampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, ang time check natin ay 22 minutos na po alas 9, no? Ayan. Okay, tingnan na naman natin ang kabila, no? Kung ano naman ang ito. Okay. Kahit na hindi matapos ito natin, at least makakuha tayo rito, no? Ayan. Okay, mismo po sa yung tatlong leader mag-summit, no? Okay, pakinggan natin sila.
President, Mr. Prime Minister, today we mark a historic moment. The first ever leaders summit between the United States, Japan, and the Philippines. And it's truly an honor to have you both here as we begin this new era of partnership. As you've heard me say before, a great deal of history in our world will be written in the Indo-Pacific over the coming years. And the three, as the three allies, three steadfast partners, and three proud democracies representing 500 million people, today we commit to writing that story in the future together. To building the Indo-Pacific that is free, open, prosperous, and secure for all, This afternoon, we'll discuss a few key areas where our nations are deepening ties. First, technology and clean energy. For securing our semiconductor supply chain, from securing our semiconductor supply chain to expanding trusted telecommunications in the Philippines, to building a clean energy workforce, to expanding our cooperation across the entire board. Second, we are deepening our maritime and security ties. This is something I know you've discussed with Vice President Harris during her travel to the Indo-Pacific. But I want to be clear. The United States defense commitments to Japan and to the Philippines are ironclad. They're ironclad. As I've said before, any attack on Philippine aircraft, vessels, or armed forces in the South China Sea would invoke our mutual defense treaty. Finally, I'm proud to announce we're launching an economic corridor in the Philippines as part of the G7's Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment. This is the first corridor in the Indo-Pacific. It means more jobs for people across the entire region. It means more investment in sectors critical to our future: clean energy, ports, railroads, agriculture, and much more. I'm looking forward to discussing all of this with all of you. But first, Mr. President, I'm going to hand it over to you, President Marcos.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And once again, allow me to thank you for hosting us, Prime Minister Kishida and myself, in the White House for this very important agreement which we are going to formalize today. We meet today as friends and partners bound by a shared vision and pursuit of a peaceful, stable, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. It is a partner. Born not out of convenience nor of expediency, but as a natural progression of a deepening relation and robust cooperation amongst our three countries, linked by a profound respect for democracy, good governance, and the rule of law. Today's historic summit is a culmination of several preparatory engagements between our foreign ministries, our national security advisors, and our vice ministers, as well as the conduct of trilateral maritime exercises and joint development cooperation. But this meeting can be just a beginning. Facing the complex challenges of our time requires concerted efforts on everyone's part, a dedication to a common purpose, and an unwavering commitment to the rules-based international order. This is a meeting that looks ahead. As we deepen our ties and enhance our coordination, we seek to identify ways of growing our economies and making them more resilient, climate-proofing our cities and our societies, sustaining our development progress, and forging a peaceful world for the next generation. Today's summit is an opportunity to define the future that we want and how we intend to achieve it together. Thank you, and I wish us all a successful meeting.
はい、日米非、首脳会合の初めての開催を歓迎いたします。バイデン大統領のイニシアチブに感謝いたします。そしてマルコス大統領とも、その際の未来をご支援いただき、ご支援いただき、世界が複合的な危機に直面する中、本当に
Multi-layered cooperation between allies and like-minded countries is essential if we are to maintain and bolster a free and open international order based on the rule of law. Today's meeting will make history as an occasion that significantly pushed forward such initiative. Japan, the US, and the Philippines are maritime nations connected by the Pacific Ocean
and our natural partners. We share fundamental values and principles and have supported regional economic development. In order to secure peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific, I hope to reaffirm our intention to further strengthen trilateral cooperation and to present the specific way forward through today's meeting. Thank you.
President, Mr. Prime Minister, to put it simply, when we stand as one, we're able to forge a better future for all. And that's what this new trilat is all about, in my view. Building a better future for people across the Indo-Pacific and, quite frankly, beyond, around the world. So thank you both for being here, and I look forward to this first summit and many more in the years ahead. And as we say goodbye to the press, we'll wait a minute here and we'll get to moving.
Okay, palagay ko tapos na yung mga balitaktakan dito sa summit na ito. Okay, salamat po mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Okay, mag-break muna ako and then ipasok natin si Tarhat Abdul Karim, no? Ayan. Ayan. So, natapos din ang balitaktakan ng suki, no? Okay. Okay, kayo po nakikinig na, may nakukuha ba kayo yan? Ay at least bahala na kayo kung wala kayong nakuha sa trilateral summit po sa Washington DC, no? Ayan.
Female voice, male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Ang program legislation bilang balita at iba ay tumatalakay sa mga isubang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapapinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang tinatanggihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, antayin po natin ang report ni Tarhat Abdul Karim. Sandali lang, no? Baka tumawag ulit. Okay, sa aking bayan, local government of Sumisip. Ay. Bakit yun? Ay, ito, bakit? Kala ko natanggal naman. Local government of Sumisip, pre-activities are in full swing. Okay, setting the stage for the main event. From the bustling night market, the most anticipated sport activities, the excitement is building toward the grand spectacle that awaits. But before anything else, get ready for the launch of the official animation of Kalasiglasigan 2024, crafted by none other than the IT monster. Ayan, pumasukin, no? Ayan. Okay. Pakinggan natin ito. Okay, pakinggan natin kahit sound lang, no? Okay. Ang galing, no? Okay, repeat natin, no? Repeat natin. Kung meron sa nabayad ba ito, pwede natin parinig ito, mga kababayan. Wala man. Okay, sa ating programa. Habang hindi pa na ginaganap. Okay, sige po. Kalasiglasigan. Free of charge na lang ito, mga suki, no? Okay. Free of charge na lang. Meron naman ako mga GCash dyan, Paymaya. Okay, kadali po pa-plugging po sa ating programa, no? Okay, madali magbayad. Okay, andyan ang Paymaya ko o kaya GCash sa aking itong platform. Itong platform ng Facebook at saka Google. Meron po. Kadali po magbayad, na. Ayan. Sana. Okay, sandali. Pwede ko ipasok ito sa YouTube channel, no? Ang ganda ganito pag may narrative. Habang tumutugtog ganon, may narrative ba? Pero may marinig ka boses. Okay na po. Okay na. 2 beses. Okay na yan. Okay. Okay na 2 beses. Okay, hindi ata nag-report si Tarhata, no?
Female voice, male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Ayan.
Ang programang legislation bilang balita at ibabaga ay tumatalakay sa mga isubang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapapinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito'y patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, kung nakamonitor si Tarhatay, pwede siya tumawag dyan, no? Okay, bekan na po yung kuhan natin. Okay, sandali lang. Dito muna, no? Okay, pakinggan natin si Gibo, no? Salamat sa ito. Hello. Hello. Okay na. Ikaw na. Sa linya mo na. Mag-intro ka na. Hello. Oh, sige na. Ikaw na. Okay na. Go ahead.
Salamat sa isang maganda dito sa lahat ng ating Pilipinas sa Pilipinas na meron. Sa lahat po ko pinag at salamat po sa ating mga susunod na taga-subaybay. At sa ating ulat mula sa ating area of responsibility, agad na namatay sa mga tama ng bala ang isang guro na biktima ng ambush sa barangay Boneo, Pamahayag, Zamboanga del Sur, ang hapon ng Huwebes, April 11, 2024. Sa ulat ng Biyernes ng Zamboanga del Sur Provincial Police Office, sakay ng kanyang motorsiklo si Jeremy Cornelian Torma, guro ng Dumiag National High School sa Dumiag, Zamboanga del Sur, ang tambangan ng mga armado sa bahagi ng highway sa barangay Boneo sa Mahayag sa naturang probinsya. Naggawa sa gilid ng highway at doon nabuwakay ang motorsiklo na tumas sa ng mga tama ng balat at pinakatuan. Ayon sa mga kapwa ng guro, wala silang alam na may kagalit si Toma at umaasa sila magtutunan ang mga kasapang mahayag at dumunag Municipal Police Station sa pagkilala sa mga pinakasapang. At sa ngayon ay patuloy pa rin ang investigasyon ng kapulisan upang mapag-alaman ang pagtangkot kung ano ang pinagtuloy ng ganitong mga insidente o ambush. No? Okay, sa iba pang mga balita, mga kasimpayan na sinagawang isa-apat ng bouncer ang state next memory competition awarding ceremony. Pwede na nga sa Ibrahim Hall yung Manoa Hotel Cotabato City Bar. At nagigit yung ang dumalo dito liba sa mga participants. So, ang ceremony ang nagpakilala ng fourth round for understation ng next memory competition ay ginanap noong Sabado, Abril 6, 2024, no? So, pag-isang linggo na nagpalita. So, sa Ibrahim Hall, ito ginanap, yung Manoa Hotel at ang nanalo ay tumanggap ng cash prizes at mga plaque kung saan ang kampiyon ay tumanggap ng 100,000 pesos. Ang first place winner ay tumanggap ng 75,000 at ang second place winner ay tumanggap ng 50,000 pesos. Lahat ng mga kalahok ay tumanggap din ng consolation prize na 10,000 pesos bawat isa. Dumalo sa ceremony ng pagkilala ang mga kilalang personalidad tulad ng punong ministro ng Bar na si Ministro Ahod Balay ng Heights. Naroon na rin si Governor ng Masigara del Norte, Bob Aguirre of Makatwan, and DSP Bang Minister Mohadir in Iqbal, at si Professor Taki Itinalog, ang Director General ng Director General for Madaris Station ng DSP, Bangsamoro Eti. At naroon din ang Bangsamoro Garo Ista, Mufti Chief Mufti Aguirre of Jalan. Ang tanggapan ng wali of the Bangsamoro naroon din si Umarsalo de Trian Atuan, dating miyembro ng Parlamento, si dating Pantawang Kulintiban at marami kang iba. Mga pinagtatandaan ito ngayon si Alokari Kamaralin Jude Haydon, Alokari Isang Ipuan Magdola at Kapila Paisla Hansa Salib ay hindi mga kampiyon na sa kamakailan lamang ng Fort Bond Current Recitation, Miss Numerated Competition, Ginanap of Sharif, Kabusan Cultural Complex Consumer Government Center. So, ang Fort Bond Current Recitation ng Miss Numerated Competition ay sinuportahan ng tagapan ng Punong Ministro ng Bar sa ilalim ng paumanay ng Ministro Ahod Balay Ibrahim Alhaj sa kasamang NDSC, Director General for Madaris Station, kasama na rin ng Bangsamoro Garo Ista at ang tanggapan ng Wali at si Bangsamoro. Itong si Alokari Kamaralin Jude Zaidon ang naging kampiyon sa kategoryang Mujaw Wada. Samantalang sila Hafid Isang Ibrahim Abdullah at Hafid Faiza Hamza Khalid ang naging mga kampiyon sa kategorya Chief of Holy Quran o Memorization ng Quran para sa mga batang lalaki at babae o batang babae. Sa kategoryang Mujawada, ang mga nanalo ay unang-una ay ang kampiyon ay si Alokari Kamaralin Zaidon. First place, Alokari Kaharudin Itasin mula sa Maguindanao del Norte. Second place, Alokari Abdullah Muhammad Indisa mula sa Cotabato City. Sa kategoryang Hizbul Quran para sa mga batang lalaki, ang mga nanalo ay si Hakim Ustang Ibrahim Abdullah mula sa Maguindanao del Sur ang naging kampiyon. Si Al-Hakim Al-Khaif Pantaw J mula sa Lamitan del Gilan, first place. Second place, si Hafida Akin Ayman Ismail ayon mula sa Maguindanao del Norte. Sa kategoryang Hizbul Quran naman para sa mga batang babae, ang nanalo ay si Hafida Kailahan Talib mula sa Marawi City, siya ang naging kampiyon sa kategoryang Hizbul Quran. First place, Akira Iberia Bandar Luzon mula sa Cotabato City. Second place, Akira Roda Alim Mahmudin mula sa Lani del Sur. Tunggap ng calculation process ng 10,000 pesos. Kaysa sa mga tampok na pagganyan ng pagkilala ay ang karagdagang 25,000 pesos na binigay ng home ang Duro Club Sum makakuha sa lahat ng mga nanalo. Pagkakidin ito makakuha ng isang sako ng bigas, 25 kilos sa unang tatlong daang dumalo, 300 participants na dumalo, 150 sa lalaki at 150 sa babae. 150 sa mga male and 150 sa mga babae. Sa ceremony ng pakyala. Si Professor Nalo naman, ang Director General ng ADLSN ay nagpahayag ng kanyang taus-pusong pasasalamat para sa suporta at pagtutulungan ng mga tanggapan na sasangkot sa matagumpay na programa Court Bar na Quran Visitation and its Memorization Computation. Kaya naman kay Pilakban, sinaburi ang Bapa IQ sa kanyang talumpati kahit mawala man ang Holy Quran ay limang hapit at kasila na nakasaulo ng Quran. Sa bawat kalitit ang siglesa at salita ng hindi nababago. And Iqbal quotes that Quran is the first and final testament. No more. Samantala sa iba pang mga ulat, napakahalaga at matagumpay naman ginanap na information, education, and communication drive para sa Pilipino sa mga munisipyo at barangay sa HTA1. Layunin ito na ang mas makaintindi at may paunawa sa mga residente ng kahalagahan at mga dapat gawin sa darating na Pilipino. Ang programa ay pinangunahan ito ni Maya Edina, ang Cotabato Provincial Communist Officer, na sinagot ang mga katanungan ng mga mamamayan mula sa 3 barangay patungkol sa HTA Bond Service. Pinangunan sa programa ang mga opisyal na tulad ng Bond Chief Minister Ahod Balawag Ibrahim Anhaj, STA Administrator Honorable Mitch Malang, and STA Minister Mohagir Wife, MOSP Minister MP Aida Kulungan, MIA Minister MP Shailaiha Dumamalba, nandun ang mag-general at nandun din ang mag-general general si Governor Abdurao Makakwa at narin dito MP Bailin na Ottoman Harila, Sensi Muhammad at Seyang Tao at marami pang iba. Layunin na nasabing dito na tuluyang magkaroon ng 8 munisipyo ang 63 barangay sa STA. Pinakiusap ni Bang Chief Minister Ahod Balawag Ibrahim Anhaj sa lahat ng residente ng 63 barangay na pumunta na sa presento at bumoto para sa tulong pagbuo ng 8 munisipyo na maging daan ang mabilis na pag-unlad ng kaya ng mga kaya. So ang STA or the Special Geographical Areas Plebiscite ay magaganap na sa Sabado o bukas Abril 13, 2024. Ang resulta ng plebisito ang magiging batayan para sa pagkakabuo ng 8 munisipyo sa 63 barangay sa STA Box. Ano naman tayong ilang taon ng mga pakahalaga ng manalo ng yes sa plebisito. Hindi pwede manalo sa Isdada Fund. At ayon naman kay MC Ismail, na iba may hindi natin hiningi. Ngunit ayon sa kanya ay ang bond government ay hindi natin hiningi. Ngunit ito ay bunga ng matinding pagkikisap, sakripisyo at ang mga buhay na nawala para sa kapayapaan. Kumbaga ito ay bunga ng kawis, tupo at buhay sa ikapangan ng Bangsamoro. So inasahan na ang resulta ng plebisito ang magiging basihan para sa tuluyang pagbuo ng mga munisipyo na ito. Ang mga leader ng BAM ay nanawagan sa lahat ng mga residente ng 63 barangay sa STA na pumunta na sa presinto at bumoto upang magdaan sa matinis na pag-unlad ng bayan.
Yes.
Okay, sa iba pang balita,
Go ahead.
si Bangsamoro Transportation Authority and si Muhammad Kayakaw ay itinalaga ito bilang bagong executive officer ng UDCP STA Board. So kasabay ng ginanap na UDCP Provincial Assembly for Special Geographic Areas kung saan inanon si Bond Chief Minister at UDCP Party President Ahod Balawag Hajj ang kanyang pagkakalaga. Ang officer ni Muhammad Kayakaw bilang executive officer ay pinangunahan mismo ni Bond Chief Minister Ahod Balawag sa Barangay Bungan, Provincia Este. Noong araw ng Webes, April 11, 2024 or April 11, 2024. Sa bilang executive officer ng UDCP STA, si Muhammad Kayakaw ay siya nga ang papalit kay Professor Doma Mascot. Ito yung dating executive officer ng UDCP na nag-take over na kay MP Muhammad Kayakaw. So sa kanyang mensahe, pinahayag ng MP Kayakaw ang kanyang determinasyon na palakasin ang pagkakaisa at samahan ng United Bangsamoro Justice Party UDCP sa lahat ng 63 barangays ng STA Board. Kasabay nito, hinisayat na ang lahat ng botante ng STA Board na lumabas at bumoto ng Gires sa gaganapin plebisito bukas April 13, 2024. Ang Special Geographical Areas ay gaganap na so ay bukas na sa araw ng Sabado, April 13, Abril 13, 2024, kung saan nakasalalay ang pagkakabuo ng walong munisipyo sa 63 barangay sa STA Bar batay sa resulta ng plebisito. Sa ating ulat ngayong gabi, may panibagong grass fire sa Lamitan City, Virginia. Ayon sa ulat, malawak na bahagi ang hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Ayon sa ulat, malawak na bahagi ng natuyong damuhan at gubat sa City Libit sa Barangay Bulantin ang tinupok ng apoy ngayong gabi o ngayong Biyernes kanina, So, April 12, 2024, April 12. Ito na ang yung pangatlong grass fire sa Lamitan City sa loob ng nakalipas na 2 linggo. Ang maraming grassland sa Basilan ay tuloy-tuloy na dahil sa kakulangan ng uslan mula noong February 2024 o dahil sa pagkakaroon ng tag-init o El Nino. So, mahalaga na tayo ay maging maaga sa mga ganitong mga pangyayari. So, yes, sir, at?
Yes. So, si Kelly Antaw na ang administrator ng 63 barangay sa SGA.
Siya po yung executive officer ng UDCP.
Oh, nga, executive officer.
Yeah. Siya yung itinalaga ni Minister Ahod Balawag Al-Hajj na noong Sabado, so sumumpa mismo o nag-office mismo sa harapan ng ating ministeryo Ahod Balawag Al-Hajj at saka ibulibong tao na naroon sa programa, dahil ilaluhan ito ng maraming mga Bangsamoro upang sisihan itong dalawang events, dalawang events. Ito ay unang-una yung events nila ay yung General Assembly, General Assembly ng UDCP ng SGA, at pangalawa ay yung para sa plebisito bukas, so ayun mga events itong Saturday. So, inaasang bukas, alas 7 pa lang ay mag-umpisa ng formalize para sa paghahanda ng plebisito bukas. So,
monitor.
Kailangan bumoto na yung mga tao sa mga Bangsamoro sa SPA ng yes or no. So, manalo man ng yes o matalo man ng yes ay ang STA o North Cotabato ay maging party na ng bansang autonomous community o set up dahil ngayon pa man ay nanalo na ang yes at kumbaga ito ay itong bukas na ginagawang plebiscito is for formalization ito dahil matagal na nanalo itong plebiscito na yes sa bansang Morocco. At kung sakaling nanalo itong yes ayon pa sa isa sa mga speaker ng ating nasaksihan sakaling nanalo muli or yes sa special geographical areas ay magkakaroon doon sa tinatawag na talibungan, magkakaroon ng sariling alkalde, no? Kailangan may magkabilit ng alkalde, DC alkalde, councilor, kapitan. So, magkakaroon ng mga officer doon at upang mas lalo maging mapapayapa at maging matutukan ng lahat ng special geographical areas. Dahil kailangan ito set na manalo pang makapag-appoint ang ating minister kung sino yung karapat-dapat na magiging opisyal na alkalde, detail alkalde, consul at iba pang mga position this coming election.
Okay.
Yeah, so bukas na bukas na yung plebiscito pero hindi natin sigurado siya kung makapunta tayo dahil napakalayo ito sa territory sa libungan Florida. So, buti sa akin kung meron tayong transportation or bus para sa mga media. So, dahil napakalayo ito, hindi natin sigurado kung makatapos tayo. Siguro dito lang tayo sa malapit kung may mga events dahil mahirap pahapon itong SPA, napakalayo at napakainit pa sa ganang patuloy pa rin ang ilin sa ating bansa at hindi pa rin bumababa sa 37 degrees centigrade ang init dito sa Pilipinas, lalo na dito sa Mindanao.
Sana mag-provide sila ng service na may aircon para sa mga medyang monitor.
Actually, yung Saturday na-provide sila pero ay doon, bumabulak. So, nung pag-uwi namin ulit, at kung sa'yo kapwa ng media, nag-ready tayo sa pamasayan. So, bukas, di pa natin alam kung makapunta tayo dahil wala pang media advisory na magkakaroon ng transportation for the media entity. Dahil nung tumawag ako sa MLC, nung tumawag kay MLC si Abbas, kay Abbas, ikaw niya ay hindi daw siya sigurado kung mayroong masasakyan ng mga media. At hindi daw umano programa ng bago ito, bukas, ito ay programa ng Comelec. So, hindi naman siya kung meron ng masasakyan.
Yun nga Comelec government dapat meron
Wala tayong media advisory at na meron tayong free, meron tayong transportation para sa mga news. Alam din, nakapunta naman tayo ng last Saturday at kahit nag-commute lang tayo ay nakahabol din tayo kahit sa paano. At nalibre tayo pa uwi dahil meron tayo mga kasamang media, may mabubutong loob at tayo ay ilang sa aking mga kasamaan ay nakasakay din doon. So, ayun, kasi saan kayo pala nakasakay sa amin, sa kanyang sasakyan. So, dito na kami nahihirapan magsakay dahil sinasya ng media, 2 bus yata, yun pero hindi kami nakasya. So, buti na lang at pinasakit kami sa salo, kasama yung kasamaan din ng media. So, alam ko nila at naging makayata at matagumpay ng sinagawang 2 programa sa isang araw.
Okay na, extra ka na.
Yes, sir, so far yung natin ulat, hanggang sa week.
Okay.
Sa lungsod ng Cotabato mga na radio news media at alas ng serbisyo publiko ng mamamayan ng ADLSN TV News Online. Ako si Bill Carino, reporting.
Okay, salamat Tarhata Abdul Karim. No? Yan po ang balita. Ay maraming balita tungkol sa mga plebisito bukas. Okay. Man-manan din, monitor din mga suki. No? Sabado Okay, salamat. So, dito naman nagtatapos po ang programa namin. Okay. So, time naman pagpalam. Okay, paalam tayo. Dito po nagtatapos ang programa natin sa gabing ito. Okay, laglag ng mata ko. Ayan po mga suki mga kababayan. Okay, sa gabing ito, no? Okay, paalam tayo dito sa consolidated news natin. Okay, sa gabing ito, no? Ayan. Okay, sa programa po ng Halwalo Special Opinion Balita at iba pa, kasama po serbisyo publiko tinig ng mamamayan and then ugnayan ng mamamayan. Maraming salamat sa inyo. Okay, paalam tayo. Wala tayong masamang tinapay. Okay, sa kapwa, trabaho lamang po, no? Okay, bye-bye na. This has been Abs naman lamang po sa gabi nito, no? Okay, so weekend, pero pag may mga mahalagang balita, lalo na yung plebiscito po sa 63 barangay SGA, ay maaari din tayo biglang okay, mag-live anytime naman ang live natin, no? Okay, so bukas na pa plebiscito po sa dyan po sa North Cotabato. Monitor na lang, man na lang, no? Ayan. Okay, bye-bye na. Bukas ano, no? Araw ng pahinga. Ayan, sige na.
Ang programang Legislation Bilang Balita at Iba ay tumatalakay sa may subang kasalukuyan at nakakaroon. Mga politika, mga opinyon, mga komentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang tinatampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Okay, bye-bye na.